Hello everyone, I'm Babli Janet and you're welcome to this edition of The Insight. In this edition of the program, we will be bringing to you a sharp-pointed and heart-witness account of what is happening in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. We'll also be taking a look at the role of the church in the life of a nation like Cameroon, especially during periods of crisis like what is going on today in the Republic of Cameroon. Meet our guests in a second. He has been on the ground. He has been in Anglophone Cameroon. He has been in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, and he has witnessed the new and deepening twist of the socio-political unrest hitting the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. His Eminence Christian Cardinal TUMI, Archbishop Emeritus of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church, is our guest in this edition of the program. His Eminence, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, you just returned from the northwest and, of course, the southwest regions of Cameroon. What did you observe? What did you see?
Well, every year, since I became a bishop in 1980, I go to my village on holidays for at least 2 weeks. My village is Kikaikalaki in Kumbo. And it happens at this time, I spent more than 2 weeks in the village and observed and listened to people talking about the present political situation in the English-speaking part of our country. It happened incidentally because I didn't go there to observe what was happening. It was incidental that it coincided. The presence of the army coincided with my presence in that part of the country. And in Mbim, that's a village about 40 minutes drive from my village, which had been visited by the army the day before I went there. I was there on the 28th, and I think the army was there on the 27th. And I saw and listened to people in their depression, I would say. It was as if the whole village of Mbim was mourning for somebody who had died, but nobody had been killed there, to be frank with you. But I saw houses that were reduced to ruin, to dust and ashes. I saw the house of a man who had run away with his wife and 6 children. Their house had been reduced to dust and ashes. I saw the material of a building water project in Mbim. The pipes had been all broken. I saw chairs of a cooperative union which had all been broken down. I saw the house of an old man, ramshackled, and I was told that the army had made away with 2 generators of the family. I saw a man looking completely depressed, from whom the army had made away with 800,000 CFA francs. I saw a bar of a young man running a small business from where hundreds of bottles of beer had been taken away by the army. And what could not be taken away was broken. The bits and pieces. I saw windows of houses broken. And I was struck by an old man, by the question an old man asked me. Cardinal, what wrong have we committed that the army should be sent to treat us this way, as if we were, foreigners who had come to ransack the village? I saw crops, corn, beans, coffee, reduced to dust and ashes, a year's harvest gone. And I asked the people, what did the army say you had committed as a fault? What was your fault?
And during your stay in the northwest region, His Cardinal, did you observe that gunshots and gun battles have become nearly a daily issue?
To be frank with you, I observed none of those. I saw nothing. In this village, the people told me that the army said they were looking for guns, but they found no gun. This was simple, innocent people. And what was the reason for the presence of the army in Beam? I am told that a soldier had been gunned down by a young man in Yonkui. Yonkui is a village far away from Beam. So the people could not understand why the army came to attack them in Beam. So my conclusion is, I ask myself rather, if they find a criminal in a village, does everybody in the village become a criminal? That's the question I ask myself.
No, you were equally in the southwest region of the country.
When I was coming back, I spent a night in Mamfe, and I saw the Bishop of Mamfe and Ronkea, who had visited some villages that were reduced to dust and ashes, and an old woman who could not save herself was burnt alive in a village. The people would like to go back, but to where? To where? They have no houses. The bishop said, when they met the bishop, the Diu Island met the traditional rulers who also met the bishop. And the bishop said he was ready to look for buses to carry the people back to the village, but to where in the village? You cannot go and leave them in the open air. He couldn't leave them in the open air. So the bishop said he could not commit himself to that type of operation. So I think that the army is making many enemies.
Right, I was going to ask you, His Eminence, from your observation, who is doing what on the ground between the secessionists, who have been referred to as terrorists today, elements of the National Armed Forces, and the masses?
What I saw now, the destruction was done by the army, by the military. Being, for example, there were no secessionists there. No. It is the army that's doing the havoc. We condemn deaths, whether of a military man or of a... that should be condemned. But if the army goes into a village, what is the purpose of its presence there? Is it just to ransack everyone? To kill whoever they saw? I'm just asking. If a military life, every life is sacred. That of the life of a civilian is sacred. The life of a military is sacred. But I do not think that it is the mission of the army to do away with the property of the civilians. I don't think so. Army does doing away with the property of the civilians.
The army that is supposed to be protecting the people and their properties.
Well, if they are looking for a criminal, let them look for the criminal with all patience. They should not draw the conclusion that since the criminal was from this village, everybody in the village is a criminal. It's not a logical conclusion. I don't think so.
And from what you're saying, from all indications, many are paying the price for a crime they have never committed.
Exact. That is why this old man asked me the question, what have we done that the government should send a whole army to come and destroy our village? You know, to see it. The village is now empty. People are away from the village. They don't know. But like this man with his wife and 6 children, nobody knows where they are. I visited the house, burnt it down. Not that I go by hearsay. What I go by hearsay is what the Bishop of Mamfe told me. I spent some time, a whole day with him, and he showed me the pictures, you know, with the, it's easy now to make pictures with the telephone and all that. He has all that, ready to make a report.
Showed you pictures of villages like Kwakwa and the others?
Kwakwa, yes, I heard about that name, but I don't know the place, but I hear or see that. I hear also that atrocities were committed there, as in Tadu. And as I said, the killing of a military man did not take place in Tadu, as some say, nor did it take place in Bim. It took place in Yunkui, and Yunkui is kilometers away from these 2 places.
And the response of the military came upon people far away from the place where...
Kilometers away. Not that I hear say I went there. Yunkun is far away from Bim. Is far away from Tadu. I passed through those villages.
Maybe they got information that those who committed the atrocity or those who killed the element of the National Armed Forces had escaped to the neighboring villages that came under the repression of the Defense and Security Forces.
Accepted that they escaped. Let them look for them. I am not supporting crime, no. Let them look for the criminal and let the criminals be punished according to our laws. They could run to anywhere. Let the army have the patience not to decide to ransack people's homes and do away with the property. Where do they take the property to?
Now, what is the state of the villages that you visited in the northwest region today?
No, I only, in Kumbu area there, the villages I visited, those what were attacked by the army, well, the people are miserable. Miserable, like I say, all that was harvested is reduced. Petrol was thrown on them and set on fire. Yeah. Not that I heard, I saw. And by the way, before I arrived, there are some sisters also who on charitable activity were already there to see how they could help the people.
And many inhabitants of those villages have fled to unknown places.
To unknown areas. to unknown areas. For example, in Murphy, the bishop told me the deer and the traditional rulers had tried to bring the people back to the villages, and that the district officer had advised the traditional chiefs to see the bishop, because he has a good knowledge of what is happening and where the people are. And the bishop told me, no, he was ready even to get, buses to bring the people back to this particular village in his diocese. I've forgotten the name. And that, but his question was, where would he bring them to? There is not a single house standing up. Where would he? I think the government should have a project if they want the people to come back, and they're ready to come back, to put up some karabur houses, as they call them. The people in the forest are used to building with those. But the problem is one now of confidence in the administration.
And talking about the administration, His Eminence, despite the disturbing situation that you're painting in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, the implementation of stringent security measures announced by the President of the Republic in his end of year address to the nation on the 31st of December, which some have qualified now as a declaration of war on the Anglophone,
I think that was exaggerated.
Continues on the ground.
I'm sorry to say the President exaggerated the presence of the army in the English-speaking part of the country. It's no solution.
And that continues, however, despite...
Well, if it continues, we will never get a solution to the problem. With a human being, you reason. You do not use violence as if you are, treating a beast. You reason. That's why the world, I can say the world, is calling for dialogue. It's not violent.
And His Eminence, when you see the situation, like you observed while you were in the northwest and during your transit through the southwest region, while coming back to Douala,
not once, twice, please, many times.
When you look at the situation worsening on the ground, and the President of the Republic tells Cameroonians that the situation is stabilizing.
No, it is not. He is not well informed. No, the President is not well informed. I think some people hide the truth from him. It's a pity, I have to say that. I don't think the President knows the reality of what is happening in the southwest and in the northwest of the country. It's dramatic.
But there are reports...
Schools are not going on.
There are reports on television, on radio, newspapers, every day on the situation.
I wonder how many go on the official papers like the CRTV and go to the spot. If you don't know, people in Kumbu did not know what was happening in Beam. When I told them I was in Beam, they said, what did you go to do in Beam? I said, I went to witness myself for myself what the army has done in Beam. They don't know. The truth is not publicized.
And there are also reports of looting going on.
Looting by the army, I'm sorry to say it. The looting is by the army. And I think also the killing of some military men gives me the impression that they are not well trained militarily. I cannot understand how a well-trained young military man, how a young man in the village who is not trained can seize a gun from his hand and use it against him.
And many of those who were killed are the young ones who just came out of school some few months ago.
Yeah, they are not well trained. They haven't the experience of, the tactics required. either in the approach of the population. Now the population is the enemy of the army. I can say that.
And the deployment of young soldiers on the ground who just came out of school.
Why the young are not the experienced? Why the young? And we are told that, this is by hearsay, told that, that some high-ranking military people use the occasion to enrich themselves because the government is spending. The government is spending for these operations.
Enriching themselves? How? His Eminence?
Well, those who are on the front eat little, and what they receive, most of it remains in their pockets. So I'm told.
All right. His Eminence...
Take, for example, let's take the case of Bakassi. Well, I read somewhere that at one time we were talking about 20 Cameroonians who were killed by invading Nigerian army. But somebody with a military experience is bringing out a book. If he has not brought it out, I read the rough copy of it, says that the killing of the 20 Cameroonians in Bakassi was by the Cameroonian army and not by the Nigerian army. Because the president, the two presidents, President Obasanjo of Nigeria and Paul Biya and the Secretary General of the United Nations, were about settling the problem politically. But the army wanted still to prove that the problem is it cannot be settled now. It is still going on. So they organized the killing of Cameroonians by Cameroonians, because I learned they were giving them about 400 million every month or every year, I don't know. Because the state spends on this military operation, and the account of how the money is spent is not given. It's not given. I hear the top people do not render account of how the money they were given for this or that operation was spent.
So are you blaming the worsening situation on poor management by the government?
Of course, that is
the
obvious.
President of the Republic, for example, has not been to the Northwest or Southwest since he started.
That's obvious. The people who should take this are not going to the front to see what's happening. The reality of the situation.
Are you advising President Paul Biya to go to the Northwest and the Southwest?
Of course. If I were him, I would go to the front to see for myself, to talk to the people. And the people themselves have been calling for it. Take, for example, the refugees in Nigeria. I was in Nigeria during that period, to the interior of Igbo land, Nowhere. I didn't go to where our refugees are found, but I was told that on the 31st of December, when the president gave his national, political speech, some refugees trekked for 1 hour to a point where they could listen to the president's speech. And they were sorry that even in that he did make mention of them. And those were his supporters, CRTV, CPDM. Members of the CPDM party, women, they trekked for 1 hour to go to a point in Nigeria where they could get clearly the speech of their president. And they were so deceived, they were so disappointed that the president did not make mention of them who are refugees in Nigeria.
His Eminence, Christian Cardinal TUMI, Many are asking the question today, where is the church in all what is happening in Cameroon today?
We are living the events painfully with the population. I can affirm without any fear of contradiction that the bishops in the two regions know very well what is happening on the ground. At the beginning of these problems, they studied the situation and made a report and asked for audience with the head of state. Till today they have not got it. They have also written a second report on the events, and especially the Bishop of Manfe, where it is really very, very difficult now for people to move around, has made a good report on what is happening. Of course, when they make those reports, they propose solutions. For the first report, they were accused by the official press that they were taking sides. Which bishop would like to take sides? If there is no peace in the country, our action as missionaries, as pastors, cannot move. We are not politicians. We would love that there be peace. Christ is the Prince of Peace, and that is him whom we propose to the world. If there is no peace, we cannot do our missionary work. So if you would see in all the dioceses in Cameroon, there's prayer, special prayer for peace at every Mass.
His Eminence, when we look at the role of the church in countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, in South Africa, we're tempted to say that the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon is a little bit sluggish.
We have even been accused that we have been attacking the government too often. You know, situations are different. Situations are different. You cannot compare I don't know the exact situation in the Congo Democratic.
The church has a very strong influence in the socio-political life of the nation there.
It depends what you mean by strong influence. It doesn't appoint ministers anyway. The thing is that when the conference notices that there's something going wrong, which could touch the lives of the people, the government makes propositions. Doesn't impose, because we have no political power to impose. We can only propose, you know. And that some conferences do more than others. I agree with you there. I admire the implication of the Catholic Episcopal Conference in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where usually very slow, like Cameroon, were the product of our country, you know, in acting. I agree with you there. There are situations where I would think we should take a firm stand and say this is wrong.
And that is what many Cameroonians are requesting from the President of the National Episcopal Conference today, to come out with very rigid and hard stance on issues like what is happening in the country today, the socio-political crisis.
Yeah. Yes, I think the conference should have done more. I agree with you there. And it is doing. It's my opinion. Because when I compare that with the time when we were there, during the economic crisis, we brought out a stinker to prove that the causes of the economic crisis were mostly internal, not external. We tend to blame those from outside, but we think that we analyze it with some intellectuals, lay people, worked with them, produced a document, the economic crisis in 1990. On the economic crisis, it was, they attacked us on the radio. Even before it came to, I don't know how it snaked out. It leaked out, and the conference was, I was the president of the conference at the time. Some even accused me that I was the one who pushed the bishops to bring out that document. I wish I could push the bishops to bring out a document. I would have pushed them to bring out many documents.
The Cardinal has been sick for about 3 weeks in the hospital, and I was following up every day of his situation, and we kept praying and hoping that he would recover. But from the way we were following the events, we began to pray that the will of God should be done. I worked very closely with him on this peace crusade. And for me, peace is not a gamble. Peace is an absolute necessity. And although the Cardinal is not there, together with my other brother bishops, we are going to continue this crusade for peace within our 2 regions. We will not relent. For me, peace is an absolute necessity. We had it before, we lost it, we must find it again. And you see, the Cardinal has passed on to glory on the night of Good Friday, breaking Holy Saturday, which is a very, very significant day in the life of the Church. And Good Friday, we all know, is the day Christ died, and the whole Church is celebrating the passion and the death of Jesus Christ. For the Cardinal to join himself in this passion and death of Jesus Christ is a very, very significant event for the life of our local church. And today, the world is quiet. There are no bells ringing in the Catholic Church. There are no celebrations. Everything is quiet. And Cardinal TUMI has passed on to glory in this quiet. I think it's a very significant moment for all of us. We don't doubt his destiny, because every sign is clear to us that he's a man of God, and God has absorbed him into himself at this time when the whole world is in meditation and prayer.
I know that His Eminence Christian Cardinal TUMI, as the highest ecclesiastical personality in Cameroon, at come of age, he has gone above 90. But in fact, the cardinal, angels and saints have lifted the servant of God, the apostle of Christ, this fine pastor, this good priest, this moral encyclopedia, to the beatific glory of God at the time Cameroonians need him desperately, because the light of the Cardinal Christian TUMI I no longer see in our generation, in this era. His Eminence Christian Cardinal TUMI, I want to decry here the wrong and the stupid use of social media by some of us who have become devils incarnate, because whoever had filmed the mortal remains of His Eminent Christian Cardinal TUMI and is displayed on social media is a devil incarnate. That is satanic, because such a person just needs deliverance and conversion. Even back in our country, you and I, we are Africans. The body of a king is never seen. Talk less of the body of an apostle of Christ, who is not an official funeral. If it's an official funeral, that the mortal remains is displayed for viewing, okay? But the mortal remains in his bed, no, it's uncalled for. I said, whoever had done it should ask for deliverance, because heaven is not happy. Christians are not happy. The bishops are not happy. This is the wrong use of social media.
I am shocked. I feel sad, but also as somebody who has been close to him, especially when he was on his sick bed, I was seeing that everything really good, as we affectionately call him, was living his last days. I regret missing him. I regret our good times. I regret that I will never have the rich advices that he used to give me. It is, I feel so much pain in me that we, especially as Nso people, has lost one of the greatest son of our land. He have gone to meet his friends whom he lived together with, like Professor Fondon, Archbishop Vedeko, Professor Daniel Antum, and himself, Christian Cardinal TUMI. We are the greatest force, sons of Nso that have worked together for the good of Nso. He has gone, that generation has gone. I miss him so much.
Which memory you think about the land?
I will remember Christian Cardinal TUMI for his smiles. I will remember him for his humor. I will remember him for the love he has for his community. And so I will remember him for his constant teachings on the truth. He made me understand that the truth is permanent, and anybody who stands on the side of the truth is always on the right track. He always make me know that everything is vanity, that we should very much care for the poor. Nobody is rich and nobody is poor. Whatever you have, you should share with the people who have lesser than you. So I remember him too as a father who loved his community so much. I mean the Nso community. He has a great attachment to that community where he grew up. I will remember the over 2-hour discussion I had with him in the month of August, that I was privileged that he told me his life from childhood, how he joined priesthood, how he became bishop, and how he has lived in Douala since 1991 as the Archbishop and as Cardinal.
News of the passing away of His Eminence Christian Cardinal TUMI spread like wildfire early this morning. It was shocking. I knew that the Cardinal has been in hospital this past 2 to 3 weeks, but nothing prepared us for this. Cameroon has lost an exemplary prince of the church, and also the nation's most authoritative moral voice, the voice of reason, the voice of compassion, of moderation, of compromise. The People's Cardinal was as much at ease with the ruling elite as with the opposition, with the intelligentsia as with the ordinary parishioner, market woman, or truck pusher. He was at ease with adults as well as with youth, with Catholics as much as with Protestants, Muslims, agnostics, atheists. Our interests intersected at several points. One of these, since 2017, was our joint efforts in search of a just and lasting solution to the Anglophone problem and the Anglophone crisis in our country. We shared a profound conviction that the solution to this crisis is not through the use of arms. It lies in inclusive and meaningful dialogue. So we advocated the convening of a genuine national dialogue on the Anglophone problem. We also advocated the holding of a preparatory conference of Anglophones ahead of the national dialogue. Christian Cardinal TUMI threw his heavy weight behind this initiative. With other religious leaders, Presbyterian, Baptist, Evangelical, Muslim, they convened the Anglophone General Conference and prevailed on me to be their spokesperson and chair of the organizing committee. The initiative is still on, but the Cardinal is gone. He challenges us to pursue the course that he dutifully traced for all of us. The Cardinal was my father, my mentor, my spiritual guide, my co-crusader for social justice, peace, and democracy in our country. I already miss him. He's gone, but his spirit, his work, and his monumental example live on. He is no doubt resting in the peace of the Lord. This Lord that he served with dedication, with faith, and with love. We will sorely miss him.
It's a very disheartening news that I was woke up with this morning, the passing away of His Eminence, Christian Cardinal TUMI. And on a very, very personal note, I have been in constant communication with His Eminence after the kidnapping incident. And that event or that incident actually took a toll on him. Babila, I am lacking words to tell you people how I feel and how most of us who are advocates of peace, who have been walking in the shoes of the Cardinal, we feel about his passing away. And I feel so bad. And one of the reasons that makes me feel so bad is because Anglophones would live to regret the passing on of His Eminence. Had I known, or had we known, had we listened to him, he would have seen peace come to Cameroon. But the enemies of peace did everything until the Cardinal found himself in this situation where he was kidnapped under very, very difficult conditions. And with his age, he had never fully recovered. That's what the general public never knew. The last time I spoke to the Cardinal was about a week ago. But he is this type of a very tough person that would not want to discourage people, and he would always tell you that things are fine, and he would complain to you that no, it is age and all sorts of stuff. But the Cardinal he was greatly weakened after the kidnapping incidents. What I remember of the Cardinal is the fact that he guaranteed our coming back home for the Grand National Dialogue. And when he organized the aborted Anglophone General Conference, he gave us those guarantees that yes, we can come, but unfortunately, the enemies of peace did not want to see that happen. And the takeaway from the Cardinal's life is this message of tolerance and always speak the truth where the truth is supposed to be spoken.
How did you receive the news of a national dialogue, long awaited, finally announced by the President of the Republic in his speech on the 10th of September to the nation?
As you have said, this was very long awaited, because we thought such a meeting on the national level should have taken place as soon as the problems started. to nip the problem in the bud. But it's better late than never. So we in our group, we welcomed it, because that was what we were going to propose to the President if he had received us well before now. But he has announced it, and we're happy about it.
Right. You were preparing for a meeting, an Anglophone General Conference.
Yes.
Before now, and that meeting was postponed on several occasions, several times.
Yes.
And until now, the meeting has not taken place.
We do not regret it, because right now, documentarily, we are ready. In fact, we have put together the causes and propositions for the solution of the socio-political problems that have been taking place in the English-speaking part of our country. We have a document of about 400 pages with a resume, what I will call telegraphic resume of about 8 pages, which will send to the Prime Minister, who has been appointed to chair the occasion.
What hindered the holding of that meeting?
Our own meeting?
Yes, the Anglophone General Conference.
Well, they have always been, we had the impression that quite a number of administrative authorities, competent administrative authorities, were hesitant. They were afraid to be seen to be encouraging us. So each time we asked for authorization,
there was no response.
There was. We got one from the senior district officer of Bamenda. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no. Well, we fulfill the legal requirements by telling us that he has received it. But he advised us whether we could not hold it somewhere else than in Bamenda.
What can possibly explain some sort of fear, the fear that is being expressed?
I don't know.
Are they afraid of Christian Cardinal TUMI?
Afraid of what can I do? And what have I ever done? Nothing.
Some of them have been saying that you've been too very critical, very hard on the government. And some have even gone as far as saying that Christian Cardinal TUMI had some hidden agendas.
Yes, there is nothing I say in private that I will not say in public, as far as the political life of our country is concerned. And I can claim to be one of the elders of this nation. There are very few Cameroonians who are of my age. So why should I fear this at my age? To say what I think is for the good of our country.
Are you still working towards the holding of the Anglophone General Conference?
I do not see the need now, because what the President announced is what we are going to propose to him. Our idea was to study it, to find out the causes and make propositions for the solution of the socio-political problem that our country is undergoing. That was our aim.
So are you concluding that the agency has failed?
No, it has not, because we have, as I say, we have worked, and the fruits are there. In fact, the Prime Minister has already the resume of the courses and propositions, but we have a detailed study of the situation that we'll hand over to him.
And now you think that is no longer necessary, but is one of the preconditions highlighted by the Social Democratic Front and submitted, of course, to the Prime Minister for onward transmission to the President of the Republic. The SDF thinks that there should be a pre-conference for Anglophones to meet and discuss and harmonize their ideas, their opinions about the problem, to avoid some sort of a cacophony that occurred during the tripartite conference of 1991.
Well, that's their opinion. We have our opinions. We thought also that way right from the start, to meet and agree on what the problem, the true problems of the Anglophone are, you know. So that was our aim. And I think I can claim that we have an idea, because we sent out a questionnaire, don't forget, and quite about 1,000 people reacted. And we have put our findings together. We have an idea now. That is our group, AGC, of what we can say the Anglophones think. Even though some people think that, well, 1,000 people, about 1,000 is not a big number enough, but we have an idea.
Let's talk about the national dialogue announced by the President of the Republic. Do you think this is the right step, that's the right direction at this point in time?
Not only as you said in your introduction, quite a number of people have been asking for a national dialogue. The international community, some even think that this is the pressure from the international community to hold this national dialogue that has pushed the president to give in. And I see himself saying that. We say he received, you know, the key word, as he said himself, that was on his table almost every day, was national dialogue, national dialogue.
And many people are criticizing him for having waited for so long.
For so long. I don't know why.
Waited for pressure.
He has his reasons. He has his reasons. He has his reasons. I think that is his own way. He does not want to be seen to be doing anything because somebody has brought pressure to bear on him. I think he's that type of a man.
He said in his address to the nation that the national dialogue will be coming up by the end of this month, of September. We are barely 2 weeks to the end of the month.
Yes.
When you look at the length of time, is it commensurate to the importance of the event? Is it equal to the importance of this event qualified as historic?
Let's wait and see how it will be organized. It's they who will organize it. If I compare it to the meetings we hold, and when I say we, that is the Catholic bishops of the world, with the Pope, it takes us at least 1 year to prepare, you know, before coming to meet with the Pope for about a month in Rome.
1 year to prepare.
Yeah.
And here we're talking about 2 weeks.
Yes.
talking about 2 weeks?
Well, it depends on the nature of it.
With regards to the
Would it be a one-day
seriousness of the
affair
problem?
or 2 days? I don't know what the length of the sitting will be, you know.
You think it should be a one-day thing, 1 month?
I don't think in one day we can do much. Because we have to gather opinions, listen to various groups, then put together what the various groups have presented, then draw out the major ideas, and then vote, make out propositions that will have the head of state to bring out a document, you know, and maybe propositions for the revision of the Constitution. You know, I don't know how that will happen. But I think that 2 weeks is not much, it's short.
That's why some politicians have been raising concerns with regards to the length of time, consultations that have to be done at the national level, consultations out of the country, and all other organizational factors.
I think the short time shows the urgency of it, in my own judgment. It shows the urgency of it, you know, but should we precipitate, should we rush?
Will it not have an impact on the outcome, on the final results?
That's what I'm saying. It depends on the speed of the work. How shall we be meeting? 1991 meeting, it took some time. You know, myself, I was a bit surprised that within such a short time we could come out with something reasonable, well reflected upon.
The President of the Republic announced that the Anglophone crisis was going to be the major issue.
The principle
on the table, but there are other things.
What I understood from that was that even the discussion of the Anglophone, it touches the national life. We cannot not talk about that. That's the way I understood him. Because the Anglophone socio-political problem in itself can take us a month, I think, if we want to listen to people.
And that's why some school of thoughts have been saying that it should be a dialogue on the Anglophone crisis, not on the Anglophone crisis and other things.
No, the President said the principle. We cannot discuss the Anglophone as if it is in a vacuum. No, it touches also
other issues of national interest.
Other areas of our national life. So that's where I understood that if in the discussion of the principal topics, if that touches other thing, you know, that concern the national life, that is concerns the life of the other regions, we cannot just put it aside. But the principle, the reason for the dialogue is to see how to come out from the Anglophone socio-political problem.
What are some of the major issues which you think should be on the dialogue table?
Well, I would put it another way, your question. In the questionnaire we sent out, the first question was, what in your opinion are the causes? What interests us first and foremost is the causes, the cause of a sickness, as long as the cause of a sickness is not known, you cannot cure it. So what are the causes of this evil? And quite a number of causes many gave. There are some causes that the major cause, the first cause that many mentioned was bad government in Cameroon. The Anglophones do not find themselves at home in the way of governance, in the way we are governed. You know, we came together very well. We were for 11 years a federal state without any hitch. But till today, nobody has really convincingly explained to us why we moved from the federal state to a unitary state. Well, for 11 years, a federal state, until from 1961 to 1972. And so, you know, by a referendum, which is questioned by quite a number of Cameroonians, we became a unitary state. That has caused much tension in our country.
Tension and frustrations with regards to the governance mechanism, as you rightly indicated. But when you say that Anglophones are not comfortable, do not find themselves at home with the way the country is governed, what are you referring to? Marginalization?
Marginalization. You know, we're not used to, take for example, I saw a policeman with a gun, with a rifle for the first time at reunification. We didn't know the policeman with the gun. The policeman had the baton. If you were not at ease physically, you ran to a policeman. He was a peacemaker. But at reunification, the first thing with a policeman is ready to fire, ready to brutalize. We're not used to that. And even imprisonment, when you are arrested, if you were not, you know, condemned, in the few months you should be released. And if the government knows where you live, after a few days you should be released, and you know, because your residence is known. But it's a different thing completely with this way.
People are arrested, kept.
People are arrested, kept for weeks, for months, for years without being brought to trial. That was not known. Just to talk about, you know, individual liberty, the liberty of the citizen. We didn't know that. But it seems that our brothers and sisters here were used to that. You know, don't forget that quite a number of French-speaking Cameroonians had run to the English-speaking part to be free, because there was also forced labor here. We didn't know that. Everything is force, force, force.
So these are some of the causes that should be put on the table.
Put on the table, yes. The way of government. And also, we have the impression that there are certain positions that an Anglophone cannot hold. For example, I don't think an Anglophone has ever been the General Secretary of the Presidency.
No. No.
I don't know. I don't remember. And certain ministries.
You're referring there to marginalization, which the president said in a speech that, or he gave the impression that there is no marginalization, because according to him, the fact that prime ministers have been appointed from Anglophone Cameroon since 1991, I think so, that means there's no marginalization.
The president said that, but if the people who propose, let them explain themselves. How are you marginalized?
And that has been interpreted as denying the Anglophone problem, refusing the Anglophone problem by saying that there's no marginalization.
No, that's not the problem.
Whereas there are complaints of the fact that the President of the Republic is Francophone, the President of the Constitutional Council, the second personality,
yes,
the President of the Senate, the President of the National Assembly, and then the PM is at the 5th position. These are some of the elements that have been highlighted to...
All that will come on the table, and we'll see how to come out of it. You have to listen to the Anglophones. There's a problem.
Now, the form of the state.
The form of the state. You know, in our questionnaire to Anglophones, we try to influence the Anglophone opinion, but we did not succeed. Therefore, it shows how deep the problem is.
When you say you tried to influence...
We tried to influence...
How?
Good question. When we said, what form of government do you think can solve this problem? Federation, for example. Decentralization, as we are trying to live it now. I think just about 4 or 5 people reacted out of 1,000. 69% of Anglophones said absolute, the word they used, many used was absolute separation. That is to say, cessation. What? Who was taken aback.
Cessation was not on the questionnaire. You had federalism and decentralization.
Yes.
And they ignored the two.
But then we said, have you any other proposition to make? We left it open. Have you other proposition? But many said in the questionnaire, acting on outside the questionnaire, said we should have proposed also a referendum. They said, no, a referendum is not a form of state, form of government.
And when you look at that reaction, what do you read within the lines? What would you conclude is the stand of?
We drew the conclusion. We drew the conclusion because we have a document now, the causes, the propositions of those who reacted to our questionnaire, about 1,000 people, and then our own, what we think. For those who reacted to our questionnaire, 69% are convinced that if we want to love each other, that is to say, if the Anglophones and Francophones want to live as brothers and sisters, absolute separation on the level of government. That is important.
And that is what sounds like a taboo.
Our position is that everything should be put on the table. There should be no taboo. That's our own position. But not that it is our own, not that we are saying that we should absolute separation, but we say whatever the opinion of some, let us listen to him. But
secession should be on the table of discussion,
yes,
in the national dialogue.
Let them try to convince us. If they convince us, we should take it. If it's convincing. That is why I think personally.
Are you saying that if the people who are standing for secession convincingly present their point of view, President Paul Biya should accept to separate Cameroon?
Of course.
Is it feasible?
It's possible, since it is human. It's not the law of God. We were not that. You know, we were separate. Were we not? We were.
Do you think that separation is going to solve this problem? Personally, do you think that separation can solve this problem?
Of course. This is not my position. My position is federalism, if you want to know my political conviction about this country. My position is federalism. That's my position.
But there are a set of people who think that...
Because that is what we voted. I was 32 in 1961. We fought for a reunification. And I've never changed one bit. And we were a federal state from 1961 to 1972 without a hitch. No problem.
But there are some observers who think that the federalist stand or the federal system was abandoned because it had some flaws.
What flaws?
It wasn't working right.
Bring it. They tried to bring it over television the other day. Nobody succeeded in convincing anybody. There are no reasons really palpable. What the 1991, tripartite proposed. You know the Constitution that was of 1996. If that Constitution, I am convinced, were applied, we would not have been where we are. It's this form of, if you look at the definition of decentralization, with the authority at the base and federation, the differences are very slim. Yes. If you look at the definition of a centralized government, seriously centralized government as is proposed by the Constitution of 1996, there's difference between it and federalism. The difference is very slim. And I'm sure that if that were applied, we would not have had this problem.
The President of the Republic, in his address to the nation, mentioned decentralization, an indication that the government, and of course the members of the government have been saying this repeatedly, that the President of the Republic and his government stand for decentralization.
Yes.
An indication that it may be some sort of an impossible thing to expect federalism or a return to federalism to emerge in this national dialogue.
We should come to the national dialogue open-minded. When you say no to something, the psychological tendency of the human being is to begin to examine very closely that thing. Allow him to talk, to say, to propose his arguments. And then you see how to try to convince him. That's why I think the key words for this meeting, truth. That is, what you are saying should be in agreement with your thought. That is truth. What I am saying is the verbal expression of my thought. The first thing. Second, intellectual honesty. Intellectual honesty. Whatever my opinion was, your opinion, you should be ready to give in. If the other person's opinion convinces you that is the opinion that is good for the good of the nation, you must give it. Intellectual honesty and the truth. We must come in, we should not come in fixed to any idea, no. We must come to this dialogue ready to receive and to give. We shouldn't come in, with fixed ideas. Not at all, we shouldn't. That's not the way to dialogue. Dialogue, we come with opinions, not with affirmations that we don't want, of which we don't want any change. Opinion, you hold, it is my opinion. It means that it is an affirmation I hold with the fear that your own opinion might be the right one. That's what we call opinion. An affirmation one holds with the fear that the contradictory of his opinion could be the right thing. We must have that. Otherwise, no. We should not come with fixed ideas. No? All of us will come in there with opinions. It is the assembly that will decide on what becomes now affirmations for the good of our country. The good of Cameroon is a guiding principle. Nothing else.
His Eminence Christian Cardinal TUMI, from all indications, you are joining those who say that government has been poorly managing the socio-political unrest in the two Anglophone regions of the country. How should government go about solving this problem?
I think, well, many have proposed the way of going about the solution of the problem we have at hand, that we have in our hands now. Nothing can be done without our meeting to talk about the problems. They have called for what is called inclusive dialogue. Some are wondering with whom should the government dialogue. But if the government was to dialogue...
And some say the government should dialogue with the secessionists.
With?
With the secessionists.
With everybody. That's what I understand by inclusive dialogue, in my own understanding. Nobody should be excluded. The present situation is this. We cannot dialogue without these fellows who are outside there and are controlling our fellow citizens in the country, in the two regions of the country. It's impossible.
Including those who are now in detention, Sesiku, Ayuk, and the others.
Everybody. Their representatives. Allow them to choose their representatives and let's dialogue with them.
Are you calling on government to release them and bring them to the dialogue table?
Of course. You know the case of Ghana. Nkrumah was voted when he was a prisoner. to become the Prime Minister of Ghana. You know why not? There is nobody who can claim to love Cameroon more than any other Cameroonian. We all love this country. It is our country. Nobody is older than this country. We were born and we were told this is Cameroon. We love Cameroon. At reunification, we fought for, I was so involved in my own small way in the fight for reunification. So that as a seminarian, I was not yet a priest. I asked my bishop, my Lord, why after reunification you continue to send us to Nigeria when there is a major seminary in Yaoundé? He told me, Christian, that was a political question. So I closed my mouth. And when I was ordained, 3 years after he came to tell my bishop, the same person told me that I should be ready to go to Europe for further education. I said, where? He told me Rome. And I told my bishop, my Lord, I'm ready to go to Rome. But our country has become bilingual. I would like to study in a French-speaking country. That's why he sent me to France, so that I would feel at home everywhere in Cameroon. I've been a priest for 50 years. I've only worked for 9 years in the English-speaking part of the country. For the rest of my life as a priest, I've been a priest here, a bishop, Yagwa Garwa Douala. So wanted it. But then there was cheating going on. We have to come back. If we had continued with what we decided in 1961, there would have been no problem. A federal republic. I'm not fixing on 2 states. You can multiply states, but a federal republic. That's what was decided.
And today federalism has become a taboo.
So slowly and silently, we have come back to where we were in reunification, La République. Which means the fundamental rights of the English-speaking Cameroonians are not being respected. I'm sorry. As far as the English-speaking part of the country is concerned. I keep repeating this experience. I lived in Rome as a bishop. The French embassy to the Holy See invites us for a supper. While we are there, the French officer in the embassy approaches me and asks me, Monsieur le Cardinal, vous êtes de quel pays? When I told him I was from Cameroon, he said, ah, nous sommes contents que vous êtes en train d'assimiler les anglophones. And France is involved.
And is that assimilation that
has come true?
The root cause of what is happening today?
And that has come true. Because we have come back to the Republic. And that is why some of the English-speaking Cameroon are fighting for Southern Cameroon, because that's what it was. And we changed the name. But we'll come back.
So you're saying that government should go back to square one and begin to rectify the problem from the
if they want real peace. Because I'm convinced that if we had continued with that, we would not have been where we are. That's my opinion, to which I have a right. Others have a right to their own opinions.
His Eminence, how do you see the future of Cameroon?
The future of a country is in our hands. Nobody can build Cameroon for us. I think that the young Cameroonian should be educated in patriotism, love of his country. When we were in school, in primary school, we were taught poems of love, patriotic poems. which I've never forgotten. Breeds there, the man who never to himself had said, "This is my own, my native land." Imagine a man in the world who has nowhere to go, who has no place in the world which he can call his own. "I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of my love." We were taught that in primary school. The love that never falters, the love that stands the test, the love that makes undaunted the final sacrifice for the country. We were taught that in primary school. You can imagine, I finished my studies in Switzerland, and the same day I defended my thesis, I went to the market, bought canteens to pack my books and come home. No place like home. And for patriotism, I could have come back to Cameroon in 1973. My Swiss Air was still coming to Douala. But I took the train from Geneva to Paris to travel by Cameroon Airlines, my national airline, our national airlines. They're small. That was instilled in us when we were kids, love of your country. I prefer to be in prison in Cameroon than to be free outside Cameroon. That's my personal comment.
The future of the country depends on the outcome of this national dialogue.
Yes. Much depends on it. And we'll lose friends or gain friends because from this national dialogue. There are many who love us outside there, but we do not love ourselves. Somebody who embezzles billions of the taxpayers' money. Is that possible? Is that love for country? You are paid and well paid, and you still embezzle.
Has the Cardinal been invited?
Well, I've had a call from the Prime Minister.
Are you preparing for that event?
No, if he invites me, I will go. I will go. I have no reason because we have documents to give him.
All right, a last word before we go, His Eminence. A last word to Cameroonians before we go.
My last word to Cameroonians is love for our nation. Nobody would come to develop Cameroon. The slightest work any of us has to do, whether you are a civil servant, whether you are a farmer, do it well for the good of this country. Nobody will come to develop it for us. And secondly, I pray those who are against children going to school, please, please know that without education, a human being is not developed. To develop the human being, education is the deliberate, systematic influence exerted by the mature upon the immature through instruction, discipline, and the harmonious development of all the faculties of a human being from infancy to maturity with its final end in view. And if man is not developed, he cannot develop his environment. Things cannot develop themselves. It's only the educated man who develops. If you love your country, make sure that every child goes to school. I've had the occasion to talk to some of our brothers and sisters who are in the forest and who are outside the country with guns to them. And thirdly, always respect the opinion of the other person. Nobody has any revelation of how to govern this country. We must leave ourselves to be judged by the people. No, nobody was created to be the president. All of us are possible presidents. Every Cameroonian woman or my boy or girl is a potential leader of the country. Let those who are governing us know that there are others who are not in power who can correct them. At times, those who are in power talk as if they have infused knowledge. No. No. Respect the opinion of the other person. Even if he's against you, listen to him. If you are all so excited, you will not reason. An angry person does not reason. Keep calm if the other person does not agree with you. That's why I told my brothers, my relatives. I have some relatives who are Amba boys. I started talking with one telephone to me from Europe, and I would sit there 1 hour. I told him I have only 2 things against you people. Number 1, you are intolerant. If somebody does not agree with you, you are ready to kill him. They threatened our former coordinator, Dr. Monzo. They marked him with red ink that anybody who sees him anywhere in Buea should kill him. They even said, we know where your wife is. If we don't see your wife, we know where your children are. Because he holds other or another political conviction than their own, different from their own. No, let us respect the opinions of one another. Whatever they may hold is an opinion. And I said the second thing, if you are interference with children going to school. No.
His Eminence Christian Cardinal TUMI, Archbishop Emeritus of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese, Chief Convener of the Anglophone General Conference. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for giving me the occasion to express myself on quite some of these points.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of The Inside.